Hello and welcome to your weekly horoscope for week commencing the 23rd of May. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you the broad strands to look out for, but please stay with me. I will then give in great detail each of the 12 zodiac signs that you can relate to, the key dates and influences for each one. Now, on the 29th of April, Mercury, the planet of communication, moved into the sign of Gemini. But on the 10th of May, around 2 weeks ago, it went into a retrograde. And as we start this week, Mercury retreats back within that retrograde into the sign of Taurus. Now, Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, so even in the retrograde, and of course it's been in a recently sparkling alliance with the flirtatious Venus, there have been possibilities. A lot of communications, a lot of ideas. I think Mercury reversing back into Taurus asks us to get really grounded about what some of those ideas may be and try to get a more tangible idea of how we can make things work in a really practical way. So an opportunity, I think, to still grapple with those finances, especially with the recent cost of living increases, and where we can squeeze a bit more from our budget. Mercury's going to help us to think about those things. But when it comes to thinking, late last week there was a quarter moon in the dreamy sign of Pisces, and that squared the Sun in the sign of Gemini. So a little bit of gossip could be doing the rounds this week. We should definitely not necessarily just believe at face value something we're told, particularly within our neighbourhood. There could also be some potential for misunderstandings with siblings. Now, this is a really important week in so many ways, but I think mostly because Mars on Tuesday returns to one of its two home zones, but of course it is the only ruling planet of the sign of Aries, and that's where it gets back to on Tuesday for a 6-week stay. But it immediately forges an absolutely fantastic link with Jupiter. Now, Jupiter, of course, is the planet of expansion. So now Mars returns to Aries. We have Jupiter, the planet of growth and potentially of good luck. And we also have Venus in the sign of Aries too. So the potential for initiative and drive is very strong. When Mars and Jupiter get together, it can give us an even greater sense of determination and thrust. But we also must remember that the element of the sign of Aries is fire, and Jupiter can, see us be a little bit overconfident in some ways. So it's going to be important to keep, grounded, and perhaps Mercury in that retrograde in Taurus can help this, especially when we're wanting to bring a much more excitement and action to a situation that may have stalled. But it's not just Mars that's forging a gorgeous link with Jupiter, because the Sun is, from Monday to Friday, in a sextile, and this is one of the luckiest aspects that you can get in astrology. So if our ideas are strong, our determination and spirit to see them through, that energy in Aries, particularly with Jupiter, that gives us a great opportunity to move forwards at some pace. So something that has been a little bit stuck could gain traction, and that's really exciting. Now, ironically, Venus forges a very positive link with Saturn this week, a very stabilizing angle. So this is, if you like, Venus in Aries, technically detrimented, but it's in a sextile with the co-ruler of Aquarius. So that's very much about the collective, the group, friends, if you like. Venus is about taking in the sign of Aries. It's about maybe just going for it a little bit. But if there is something that's working out well in a relationship, it could actually be very stable. The irony is that Venus is also in a square with Pluto from Monday through to the end of the week. And any relationship that is leveraged, so where Perhaps someone is promising us a really amazing deal around a job, or perhaps it could be that someone tries to spoil us big time if they're trying to get to know us, almost like being over generous. It's not to say that there's anything sinister with these tactics, but we just must be aware that Pluto's about power and Venus is about money as well as potentially sex. So, the inference is clear. Saturn can bring stability, but Pluto can bring some leverage. So just be conscious of that. But I think the key this week is to cut through the swirling mist that is that quarter moon, because there could be some mixed signals. It's not just Mercury's retrograde, and Mercury's retrograde in Taurus is most certainly asking us to scrutinize the details of things in a very exacting way. Now, if you are new to my channel, I'd be honoured if you would subscribe. I'm getting very close to that 100,000 mark. All the illnesses I've had in recent years, last 10 years, catching up now. So we'd greatly appreciate if you would click or tap on the bell notification symbol. If you would like to ascend above this broadcast, if you give me 3 pieces of personal information, time, date and place of birth, I can share with you an astrological roadmap that can guide the rest of your life, and also my special package of 30% off a character analysis for the next 12 months. No 2 charts are the same. Please see the link beneath this video. But please stay with me now for your individual zodiac forecast. So Gemini, your week commencing the 23rd of May forecast sees your ruler reverse out of your sign into your 12th house. That can be quite complex. Also, the quarter moon occurred in the sign of Pisces, which for you is house 10, and it means therefore there could be a little bit of confusion around your professional situation. If you're very focused on a particular way of going about something, just be aware that someone you need to interact with may see things differently, but they may not necessarily tell you, because with Mercury in your 12th house, that does point towards the potential for people to be a little bit two-faced, not necessarily upfront in terms of the way they represent how they feel. Now, there is a colossal amount of good stuff as well, and that of course is primed more than anything by Mars powering into your 11th house on Tuesday. It's joining up with Jupiter, also Jupiter, which is obviously more forward in the sign of Aries than Mars, forges a delicious link to the Sun in your sign. So when it comes to planning your future and feeling optimistic about the direction of travel that you're taking, that's really good. That Mars, Jupiter and Venus energy all in your sector of connections, networking, something you have such an amazing talent for. So the fly in the proverbial cosmic ointment is definitely that quarter moon, and also your ruler in retrograde in the 12th house. So there may be something that you want to believe in that has real prospects, that you are optimistic about. There may be people you're connecting with who give you quite a lift, but there may be just something you need to keep an eye on. It's possible it may be your own anxieties or your own fears, or a little bit of a lack of personal confidence. Now, Venus actually does forge a very productive link to Saturn. So Saturn's in your sector of truth. Now, of course, Saturn can be quite harsh and demanding and scrutinizing, but I think the best way to deal with that little blind spot that could be bubbling around you about someone who doesn't quite buy into the enthusiasm you've got is just to try to find the truth. But because money could be involved in this situation, with Pluto in your 8th house and squaring up to Venus in your 11th house, don't necessarily assume that everybody else has the same standards that you work to. So there could be someone that you're interacting with that you want to think the best of, but possibly they're a little bit more focused on the main chance. So this is not a good week to be too idealistic, but it is a great week to feel more enthusiastic about your future plans and work towards them, as long as you're just conscious of any outstanding niggles or doubts or lack of certainties or lack of honesty or sincerity around someone who might be quite close in your world.